Alabama Adventure and Splash Adventure is a small amusement and water park located on the southwestern side of Birmingham, Alabama. It's home to two roller coasters, which is a Wacky Worm and their signature attraction Rampage, a CCI wind roller coaster. And it's had a pretty interesting history. I've only been to the park once. I went this past year in 2020, and I had a lot of different thoughts about the place. I think it has a lot of potential, but as of when I visited, it just felt like half of an amusement park. And there's actually a reason for that. For over a decade, Alabama Adventure has gone through multiple name changes, filed for Chapter 9 bankruptcy, reopened, rebranded, removed attractions, added a couple of attractions, and gone through entirely new management changes. The current owners came over from Holiday World in 2014, and a lot of the tactics that they use to revitalize the park are things that you can also find at Holiday World, such as free parking, the Pepsi Oasis stations, free sunscreen. And these are all very positive things. I mean, I've always said that I feel like more parks should be set up in that style. They're not free drinks, they're just worked into the price of admission, but they certainly feel free when you're walking around. You're not thinking about the price you pay to get into the park, and you just walk up to the drink stations or sunscreen stands and get however much you want. So in my opinion, that's a very big plus about Alabama Adventure. Let's talk about some of the things that you'll see when you're walking around the park. The first thing is that because of its location, you can't actually see most of the attractions until you get there. And that especially goes for Rampage. It's located on a hill surrounded by these big tall trees. So as a whole, the park is pretty green, which is awesome. When you pass through your entrance, you're greeted with an entrance very much in the style of Six Flags Over Georgia, which is interesting because this place is only like a little over 2 hours from Six Flags Over Georgia, and you can definitely see the similarities. It's that classic Main Street style entrance, except in this case, it very much feels low budget. And that's something you'll notice as you're walking around the dry park. The water park is a little bit of a different story. We'll get to that later. But the actual Alabama Adventure side of the park, I felt like was pretty sad. There's a few rides. There's a ton of open space where you can tell something used to be there, but it's since been removed. And I know, the park has had a rocky history. I mean, they used to have a Vekoma Boomerang, a Rapids ride, an S&S Space Shot, and more, and they're all gone. So that's why I say I feel like this park has potential, because if they can fill in those gaps, add more attractions, actually liven the place up, I think you could have a really solid location. But in the state that it's in right now, I don't feel like it's a place that you'll just want to keep on revisiting. Rampage is really the only reason to go to Alabama Adventure. I mean, it is a good water park, at least on the amusement park side of things. There's not exactly a lot. Also, it's kind of a strange layout for the park. You have these wide open midways, but again, nothing really there. And then just these little side areas that just need a little help. There isn't really any theming. It feels like at times they tried to add theming, but it didn't really work. And I'm not really going to get into Rampage in this review. I have a full separate video talking all about that ride, so I encourage you to go watch that video. But it'd really be nice to see this park get some substantial new investment. And I'm sure they have some plans in the works. I mean, at the end of the day, it all comes down to attendance, revenue. Can they make that money back? And if they believe that this park is profitable, then yeah, I would really like to see some more attractions here. Diversify that lineup. Moving on to the water park, I do feel like Splash Adventure is the nicest part of the entire complex. It's well landscaped, it has a good layout, and there's some solid slides here. It very much gave me Splash and Safari vibes. It even has the same type of locker system. It also happened to be the busiest part of the entire park. There were easily 5 times more people in the water park than the dry park. So it's clear to me that that's the main reason why people would choose to go to Alabama Adventure and Splash Adventure. Coaster enthusiasts will go for Rampage, but the public, they like the water park. As a whole, it felt like the water park was getting all the attention. It was well taken care of. I'd love to see that translate over to the dry park. A few other just random thoughts before I end things out. Alabama Adventure is in an interesting situation where they have a park mascot, but it also doubles as the owner of the park. Dan Cook can be found in multiple ads around the park in a Willy Wonka style outfit, and we didn't actually see him when we were at the park, but apparently he's always out walking around, talking to guests. But as a whole, I thought that was really interesting. I mean, in what other situation is the owner of the park also the face of the park? And while we're on the topic of park owners, I do gotta give them major props for this, because I thought this was really impressive. Grandma Cook, who is quote unquote called the General, is normally out greeting guests whenever they enter Alabama Adventure. But this year, because of COVID, they had her on Zoom on a TV screen outside the entrance, and in real time, as the guests are walking in, she's greeting them and telling them to have fun. I've never seen that before, and it blew me away. It shows how much they care, and I thought that was awesome. So good on them. I love that. But that's going to do it for this review of Alabama Adventure and Splash Adventure. I'd love to hear down in the comments below what you think of this park, if you agree with the things I've said, and what rides you'd love to see added here in the future. There's enough land here that they could pretty much add whatever they want. All depends on how much they want to spend, but they certainly have no shortage of options. But if you're new to the channel, I'd love if you could subscribe. We do park reviews from places all across the world. I encourage you to check out a playlist that's available on my channel of all the parks I've reviewed in alphabetical order. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you guys next time.